Here on Tokyo on Fire, we don't shy away from issues of great emotional impact, those that kind of tug at your heartstrings and maybe you have a very strong opinion of. We'd like to explore now the decision of the Japan Whaling Association to go to Antarctica for this season. They had a hiatus last year. They didn't do their research whaling. They were criticized for that. Actually, there was a lawsuit in the International Court, and it looks like they're going ahead anyway, Michael. This is a huge issue politically and also for Brand Japan.
It's a really big issue for Brand Japan, and I'm going to let Dr. Snow go off on that, and as she should. I'm just going to say that the plan that they put forward is that instead of killing 1,000 minke whales in Antarctic waters, they're going to kill only 333. Somehow this makes it okay,
right,
even though the International Court of Justice, in a decision that Japan participated in, when you go to the ICJ, both sides agree ahead of time, we will accept whatever the decision is. Japan went into the process with Australia, and Australia's side won, saying that the research whaling program isn't research and therefore is not protected under the IWC convention. Well, lo and behold, yeah, they're doing that.
Yes.
They are thumbing their noses at this decision, which it is just insane. One of the major thrusts of the Abe administration, particularly in trying to differentiate China from Japan, is to show we Japanese, we follow international law. Those Chinese, with their South China Sea islands, with their pressure on the Senkakus, they don't.
Yes.
That's where we do, they don't, we're better.
Well, not only that, but this attempt to integrate Japan with Australia, with New Zealand militarily, this runs totally counter to that.
And they're trying to sell the submarines right now.
Right.
How are they going to go to them and say, you can trust us in signing a contract when just a few months before they say, we're going to go into a court proceeding with you. We don't care about that court proceeding. This is just madness.
Dr. Nancy Snow, you don't have to be a card-carrying member of Greenpeace to really feel viscerally angry at this sort of action.
I was on Facebook, and my Facebook timeline blew up. Nick Cole, who's the director of the Masters in Public Diplomacy program at USC, said, you ought to look at this. He tagged my name, and it was people just one after the other saying, not going to Japan, in so many words, very upset with the announcement of this resuming of the killing, whether it's 300 or 1,000. Nick's point to me was, would you please let the Japanese government know that global public opinion matters and that they can't be dismissive to it? Now, I know they care a lot more about public diplomacy and global PR. They're spending a lot more on it. They seem to have 10 ears on the whaling issue. This is Japan alone. It's not as if it's the International Olympics on the waters and you've got 12 countries competing. This is Japan being very isolated, and it is lashing out because it's being criticized. And it's framing it in terms of cultural history or cultural preservation. It's just not going to fall on any ears that are going to be sympathetic to this. I can tell you, though, that I didn't really want to touch it too closely.
It's too
because
electric.
It raises a lot of ire. So I did tweet the article, but I didn't post anything on Facebook. So it was brought to me to do some type of case study, because people from outside Japan who are not Japan experts, but probably would be interested in visiting here, they're not going to come over this issue.
Well, I'm glad you used the word case study, because it's almost inexplicable. Why shoot yourself in the foot in such a way as to make the country persona non grata over what is not even a viable industry? The industry of at least the oceanic hunt survives on subsidies.
Right.
It doesn't even pay for itself. Not enough people eat whale for it to pay off. So why are you doing this?
Well, I'm going to find out some answers, because this Monday, the Japanese head of the International Whaling Commission is holding a press conference in English at the Foreign Press Center of Japan. I've already signed up. I really want to see how many Japanese press will come. It's designed really for the international press. But I think the international media is always interested in this. However, when you just make it an international media issue, it's easy then for the Japanese to say, oh, the international press beats up on us about this. But what they're forgetting is it's the global publics behind that press who really care about this. And they are as puzzled as the rest of us.
Right.
Part of the political economy, I mean, really cynically, is really base. And that is, if you looked at the announcement of the departure of the ships for Antarctica, you say, and the byline is from Shimonoseki, Yamaguchi Prefecture. Who is the representative for Shimonoseki? Prime Minister Abe Shinzo.
Oh, boy.
It's home ported in his district. The fleet is and the mothership are home ported in his district.
Is this just appealing then to his core constituents?
Well, I think we see this all the time, don't we, Michael? That a certain industry association or a certain specific industry group has sway over the politics completely out of proportion to what their numbers might dictate.
In this case, the ships are based mostly in Mr. Abe's district, but the whalers actually come from the infamous town of Taiji.
Okay,
that's the one in Wakayama, which
they had
is
the documentary.
That's right, the Cove. Those folks not only go after dolphins, they also provide most of the hunters for the for the oceanic whaling hunt. And it's not. The Antarctic hunt is only one of the two that Japan conducts. Very quietly, it conducts one in the North Pacific every year as well.
Well, no longer so quietly.
Strangely, because of the pressure of Australia and the absolute support the Australians. I was in Sydney last year, and when I went to Sydney, there, right next to the National Maritime Museum, and in fact, a guest of the National Maritime Museum was the Sea Shepherd Society's latest and best vessel, which, ironically, the Sea Shepherd Society quietly and very, very wisely bought from the Japan National Fisheries Agency. So they knew they have Mitsubishi quality.
Okay.
So this plays a little bit into another subject. You know, when Japan starts selling things like it's selling Coast Guard vessels to the Philippines and Vietnam, and maybe we'll get to talk about that sometime. Blowback,
yes,
it hurts.
Yes, it
and
does.
In this case, the Sea Shepherd, the Sea Shepherd Society is going to be chasing Japan with its own vessels.
I'm greatly concerned that there will be some accident. There might be a loss of life, but right now it's a loss of face for Japan because they're really going to lose people over this. And this has been around even when I was here, when I returned to Japan after a 16-year gap in 2010, I was asking people about whaling then and the dolphins because people always bring it up with me when they know that I live in Japan. So it's not going away, whether they want to be quiet about it or not. Japan wants to be part of the new normal. Japan wants to have a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. It may fight side by side with the U.S. It's selling this technology to other countries that have more progressive global values in certain areas. And whaling is one that other countries have said it's not worth it.
Right.
And there's no explanation for this. So I'm very curious what this head of the International Whaling Commission is going to say. Because I think we're all there. We're kind of like not hunting for whale, but, you know, to use the expression, we're sort of loaded for bear, as we say in the U.S., which is an unfortunate expression, too.
Well, you know, speaking of constituencies, they serve whale at the diet lunches. I think every Wednesday, is it not?
I think it's Friday, but
Is it Friday?
One day is Whale Day.
It's whale day, and you can get your full.
Yeah, and then it's.
You mean it's a buffet?
It's
No,
not
no,
a
no,
buffet.
it's-
It's on the menu. You
It's
can
on the
order.
menu.
You can have tempura or you can have whale.
You can have. Let's see. I think they have curry. Whale curry is one, and deep fried whale is the other.
Right.
And it's again, it's a very childish gesture. It's sticking it to the international community.
Yes.
And you sit there and you say, why?
Well, it's kind of like the constitutional issue, too. I mean, the Japanese take umbrage at other people telling them what your culture should be and how you should preserve certain aspects of how you got from where you were to where you are now. And so I understand some of that, and I understand the desire to preserve those things. But I think this this issue is, it's just
a puzzle to me because
electric.
basic 101 public diplomacy is monitoring global public opinion. It doesn't mean that you have to shift and play to everybody's whims. It has to do with managing reputation, the
timing, your messaging.
Yeah, it's just giving you more information. And I know that the Japanese government, which is really controlling a lot of PD, cares about that. But to be this sort of dismissive, I really, I don't quite understand it. And I've been trying to figure it out for years.
Well, you'll get to see what Mr. Morishita has to say, and he's said a lot of things that have driven people crazy over the years.
I don't think he will get me to the point where I will then want to go to the special Let's Eat Whale Day at the diet.
Well, with that, we hope that all safety to the fleet and the people who are protecting the interests of the Australians as well are preserved. And also, we hope that maybe the numbers 333 whales is actually a number that the Japanese Whaling Federation follows. We'll stay tuned to this issue. We'll report to you on it as the issues come up to our attention. Thank you very much for watching.